Hey everyone, what's up? How you doing? You are watching CyberSecureyou. I'm your host, Valerie Mitchell, where we discuss digital security and safety tips for you and how to keep yourself safe while you're maneuvering through this cyber world. Today, okay, let me back up a little bit. Last week I said I was going to come back to you guys with the rest of my story. But as I was doing research, I stumbled across Edward Snowden, which I slightly brought him up last week in regards to what happened with him. And so I did a little further research, and I wanted to discuss some of the information that he provided. So I'm going to give you some background on this guy. And we'll take a look at a few clips and where he mentioned information in regards to digital security. So again, welcome to the show. Again, it's Valerie Mitchell. I'm your host on CyberSecureyou. So Edward Snowden, 39-year-old guy, Caucasian guy. He actually was a bit nerdy looking in the very beginning when he first came out, but you should see him now, okay? He was a computer intelligence consultant for national security. Now, he is known as a whistleblower now. Now, that's basically what they consider him now. And what happened with Snowden is that he was working for national security, NSA, and he was finding out that Americans' privacy was being basically exposed, and he thought this is not right, this can't be right. So he continued. There he is right there, nice looking dude, right? His whole swag has changed, right? Anyways, he's a celebrity now, but not for all the right reasons according to the United States government. Anyways, so he found out that he found information that the United States was basically secretly surveilling all of the citizens of the United States. So he was able to reveal classified intelligent information, and he found out about this surveillance program that was ran by the NSA and the UK on the citizens of each of these countries. And so he worked at the NSA from 2009 to 2013. All right, he was and to back up a little bit, he was actually born in North Carolina. I thought I should throw that out there just so it can give you some perspective on the type of person he is. It's not like he came from a big town, a big city. You know, he came from North Carolina. And I've been out to North Carolina, and they have it's interesting the way the individuals out there are a bit southern, a bit more lax in the way they dress. They're not like LA people were kind of fancy with it, right? So different environment out there. Anyway, so he actually flew to Hong Kong, and he met with reporters from The Guardian and The Washington Post, and he shared the documentation that he found that revealed these surveillance programs that the United States and the UK had on their citizens. Unbelievable, right? And they therefore went and published these documents, and the government wasn't happy about it, and so they charged him with espionage, and he had to go and seek refuge in another country, because if he steps foot back into the United States, it's a wrap for this man. They are going to take him down. They don't like that he revealed and shared information that they were trying to keep away from the public. And we're going to dive a little bit into the privacy issues that's related with this situation. And just, you know, the United States has created privacy laws for all of its citizens for a reason, yet they go and violate the one thing that they created. Interesting. Anyways, so the bottom line is the government collected these private practices on their users, and they collected the data that they collected the data that they got from Apple, Facebook, Google, and AOL. I don't even know if AOL is still around right now. People barely use AOL. They're like a thing of the past, but I think they're still around. I haven't used it in a while. So I don't know. Michael, do you have that first clip? Let's go ahead and play one of the clips here. Now let me preface this by saying that he was on the 11th hour with Brian Williams, and this aired September 17th of 2019. So if you're interested, you can go on YouTube and check out the full interview for yourself.
Hacking has increasingly become what governments consider a legitimate investigative tool. They use the same methods and techniques as criminal hackers. And what this means is they will try to remotely take over your device. Once they do this, by detecting a vulnerability in the software that your device runs, such as Apple's iOS or Microsoft Windows, they can craft a special kind of attack code called an exploit. They then launch this exploit at the vulnerability on your device, which allows them to take total control of that device. Anything you can do on that device, the attacker, in this case the government, can do. They can read your email, they can collect every document, they can look at your contact book, they can turn the location services on, they can see anything that is on that phone instantly and send it back home to the mothership. They can do the same with laptops. The other prong that we forget so frequently is that in many cases they don't need to hack our devices. They can simply ask Google for a copy of our email box, because Google saves a copy of that. Everything that you've ever typed into that search box, Google has a copy of. Every private message that you've sent on Facebook, every link that you've clicked, everything that you've liked, they keep a permanent record of. And all of these things are available not just to these companies, but to our governments, as they are increasingly deputized as sort of miniature arms of government.
Okay, wow, that was a mouthful. I found that portion of the interview that he did with Brian Williams. Oh, I'm over there. Okay. I found that portion of the interview that he did with Brian Williams very powerful, simply because, again, I was hacked. And I was hacked to a level that I thought, like, why would a single individual put so much energy and time into trying to collect my information? And funny enough, when I first got hacked and I didn't know what the hell was going on, it just came out of nowhere. My mother hired a private detective. So we bring this private detective on. What up, Frank? Which didn't do his job, really. But anyways, I'm going to give him some shout-outs. He said to me, one thing he said to me, and that's why this interview with the interview that Edward did with Brian Williams struck me so hard. The detective said to me, if what is happening to you is being done by the government, then there's not much I can do for you. And I was like, wait, what? Wait. Little old me, like what is it that I have that they would even want, right? But he did say that. I'm going to repeat it again. He said, if what is occurring and happening to you is being conducted by the government, there is not much I can do. All right. So to hear Edward Snowden mention these exploits that are taking place on our devices that we have with us dang 24/7. I don't even think we realize what we're doing. We just do it. It's like automatic now. Anything we need to look up, anything we need to know, we don't even think twice before typing it in, I'm a little vague, typing it in and searching for it. It's funny because you get these criminals who get caught, like individuals that get convicted of crimes, right? And one of the things that the detectives do, and they go back and they look at their internet usage, their search history. And these idiots fail to realize that, oh shit, I looked up, how to saw off a person's arm, They forget that these are things that they have in their search engine that's going to tie them directly to the crime. So I just find it funny that they forget these type of things. I found it interesting that Snowden mentioned the government is able to launch these things on our device without us realizing that this is what's taking place and that they're monitoring it. And they're getting the help of the providers. They're getting the help of Google. They're getting the help of Apple. With Androids, which I've recently switched back to an Android, I found it easier to maneuver for me and the hacking situation that I've been dealing with. I found it easier to maneuver with Android because I'm able to accept the permissions myself. Whereas on the iOS, it seems like it's already accepted for you, even though they don't accept a lot of third-party apps, and that means applications that are provided to these servicers like Google and like Apple from a developer, some person that's, hey, let me create this app, and then provide it to Google or Apple for their users. That's what third-party is. So, anyways. With the Androids, you're able to accept these permissions or deny the permissions. But then if you deny the permissions, then you're not able to use the services. So it's like a catch-22. If you want to be able to use Zoom, for instance, then they need permission to be able to go in and use your contacts, your location, your, what else? Your photos, your phone, yeah, and your microphone, yeah. Thanks, Michael. Oh, and your camera. Thanks, Michael. I mean, they're able to. Why do they need your contacts? Think about it. Does Zoom need all your contacts? Are you going to be talking with all the individuals in your contacts via Zoom? No. I don't find it necessary for them to have my contacts, not all of them at least, And there's no way to, maybe they should develop something where you kind of categorize your contacts so that these are the contacts you'd like to use for Zoom, and these are the contacts you would like not to use for Zoom. So let's say, like, I went to Walden University. Every Walden University contact has the potential for me to Zoom, and Zoom with them because I'm in school with them, and we're studying a certain program together, and we need to talk about certain things and that sort of, and work on certain projects. So maybe I could have that section, but my whole contact list. And then why do you need my microphone? Why do you need to hear every conversation that I'm having? Think about that. Why? What do they need it for?
Well, they need your microphone so they can hear you talk.
Okay, but for what?
No, if you're talking on Zoom, you've got to talk to somebody.
Okay, all right. I understand that you have to have a conversation via Zoom, but does it stop after that?
Well,
Do they disconnect after that? No.
No, you keep it, but that's why Apple has the one only for this one-time use.
I don't necessarily believe that. I don't trust it. That's exactly why they reeled in Mark Zuckerberg in front of the Senate and had this long drawn out hearing with him because of the privacy of the users of Facebook. This is a big issue, you guys. I don't know if people realize how serious this situation is, because your privacy is being invaded. And this is exactly why this guy, Edward Snowden, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. I'm really going to reach out to him because I admire his courage. It took a lot for him to gather up this information every day while he's working and then, sneak that information out of the NSA and get it into the hands of reporters who can publish something that's against the United States. So the United States has no sympathy for this man right now, and he has to literally hide out in Russia. And it's interesting because he has to take certain parameters to even use devices. Like his security is very detailed. It's very detailed. So let's play the second clip of the conversation he had on the 11th hour with Brian Williams.
If you can do it, they can do it. It is trivial to remotely turn on your microphone or to activate your camera, so long as you have systems level access. If you had hacked someone's device remotely, anything they can do, you can do. They can look up your nose, right? They can record what's in the room. The screen may be off as it's sitting on your desk, but the device is talking all of the time. The question we have to ask is, who is it talking to? Even if your phone is not hacked, right now, you look at it, it's just sitting there on the charger. it is talking tens or hundreds or thousands of times a minute to any number of different companies who have apps installed on your phone. It looks like it's off, it looks like it's just sitting there, but it is constantly chattering. And unfortunately, like pollution, we have not created the tools that are necessary for ordinary people to be able to see this activity. And it is the invisibility of it that makes it so popular and common and attractive for these companies. Because if you do not realize they're collecting this data from you, this very private and personal data, there's no way you're going to object to it.
Wow.
If you can do it, they can do it.
Is there more? Wow. Deep, right? Super deep. Let me say this. There's the Privacy Act of 1974. Now, this act was created for citizens, right? It's the Fair Information Practice Act that governs and it collects, maintains, and and disseminates the information of individuals. And it maintains a system of records by the federal agencies, federal government agencies. But in order for them to reveal certain information, they must have written consent of individuals, okay? Keep that in mind. Must have our written consent. Now, how are these companies and servicers getting written consent? Through permissions that we okay on our apps. So like I said, I mentioned Zoom, but there's multiple other applications that if we want to use them, then they say, hey, we need permission to do this, that, and the other. And we just go through because we're rushing. We're not paying attention. We just want to get this app on our device. We want to get to using it because we're trying to do something that we find extremely important at that time. We don't have time to read through all that mumble jumble. And there's a lot of information, right? There's so many pages that we should be reading through. I am I'm at fault for not reading through all the information and just saying, let me just get through it. And then selecting, okay. And this is our written consent. So this Privacy Act that was enacted to protect us is in a way not protecting us, because here it is, you have these permissions that are thrown at us. We're not, and it's partly our fault because we're not paying attention. But there's got to be a better way around this, because I think the government knows damn well we're not paying attention. And so then we give our written consent, not realizing we gave our written consent for them to go in and basically just listen to everything we do, hear everything we say, record this information. And it's funny because I have a friend that works for the government, and he's like, Val, when I was getting hacked, and I'm like, oh, why me? What's the deal? And he's like, well, if you don't have anything to hide, Val, who cares? And I thought I could take that perspective. Like I could see where he's coming from. At the same time, I like my privacy. I'm one of these people that, I'm not interested in the government knowing everything that I do. I just feel like my privacy is my privacy. My business is my business, and I'm not interested in sharing that. And just because someone feels like they want to be all in my business and they want to know everything I'm doing, and I feel like I have no privacy. That's kind of the life I'm living right now. I feel like I have absolutely no privacy. I don't care what it is I'm doing, especially on this thing right here. Sometimes I give a fuck, and then sometimes I don't. It just depends. I go back and forth with it. It's like an emotional roller coaster, I swear to God. But then again, like he mentioned, my screen is off right now. You see that? It's not on. But there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of talking, like he said, like Snowden said, going on this device right now. They're probably in there collecting my text messages. I don't know if you guys have realized this, that these text messages that you send out, and maybe you're going on Instagram and you're DMing somebody, not realizing that all of that information is being collected. It is being collected. And interesting, I think, Michael, you said that he was having a conversation with someone, and he had mentioned something, and then the next day he went to look on his device and there was an advertisement for it. Not realizing that the device was recording what he said. Was your device off at the time?
No, it was a friend of mine's device.
Oh.
And and she had an Android, and she was talking about, hey, I'm gonna have some kind of do an estimate so we can get your bathroom remodeled. And the next day, I had 2 people call me for remodeling estimates. Hey,
They actually called you.
We heard that you need to get your house remodeled. We can come out and do an estimate right away.
Now, how did you feel? Isn't that an invasion of privacy?
Well, it was her phone. I felt, I felt somewhat invaded.
That's an invasion.
Because I'm like, they used her phone, but they knew exactly who she was talking to and who to contact to take advantage of that lead.
And how did they get your number?
I don't know, but I had used that service. That's why I knew what
Oh,
it was.
oh,
It's
okay.
a service that you pay for leads.
Oh.
And so I was like, somebody paid for this lead, and they were so sure about the lead that they just captured from somebody's phone.
Mm-hmm. So imagine that the government is gathering this type of information on you 24/7. You're just some regular ass person. You go to work every day. You get up. You put your shoes on the same way every day. You do the same damn thing. And all this while, every little thing you do is literally being recorded by the government. And surveillance. It's like low-key surveillance on your ass, and you're like not even realizing it. There are exceptions as far as this written consent is concerned. I just wanted to kind of say that as a disclaimer. And you would have to go and read the Privacy Act for yourself and kind of detail it out and see that all the information that's written in it, because it's pretty long. At the same time, you know, I don't know. I feel like they need to go in and revamp a lot of these laws that they've put into place, primarily because of the internet and the fact that companies are able to do certain things that the government doesn't have a hold on this right now. They don't know what to do. They haven't figured this shit out. They don't know how to protect us. Like Snowden said, they haven't developed the tools for users so that we can actively monitor the information that seems to be given away. The government is surveilling you. So imagine what companies, like if the government is doing it, these companies are like, hey, fair game. Let's get them. And it's all for the mighty dollar. At the end of the day, they just want to be able to sell you their product. You know, now is there a harm in that? I guess not. But if you're listening to me and I don't know you're listening to me, it's just weird, man. It's just not cool. It's not cool. And Snowden also mentioned, and I won't play that because it's a pretty interesting video. Like I said, you just go on to the 11th hour, type in Edward Snowden, and you'll be able to see the entire interview on YouTube. He says before he even uses his devices, he removes the battery, the microphone, and he does not even put it back in his device. Hey there. He doesn't put it back in his device until he knows everything's safe for him to use, because he is being heavily monitored right now. So he doesn't have the freedoms that we have. He doesn't. So he has to literally go to the extreme to protect himself. And I had stopped using devices altogether. When I first got attacked, because like I told you guys, it got physical, I didn't know what to do. So because it seemed like every burner phone I bought, those are the phones you go and you buy at the store, like CVS or one of them around the way spots, and you can throw them away. That seemed to get compromised. My T-Mobile account had got compromised, and I was dealing with them. They had got into my credit, did all this nonsense. So I just did away with devices entirely. I didn't have a computer around me, didn't have a cell phone around me, and it was horrible. I was in pure silence for like, I don't know, 6 months. It was a long time without having this by my side and not being able to communicate. It was very difficult. But is that what we're going to have to do? Like, how do we get around this? What do we need to do so that we regain the privacy that is rightfully ours? What do we need to do to be able to make it so that the government is not surveilling everything that we do and invading our privacy. It is, I think, every United States citizen's right to be able to say what it is that we would like revealed about us personally. Now, if you're out there doing criminal acts, then I guess you deserve to get surveilled. At the same time, you do have rights. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. Listening to this entire interview with Snowden puts a lot of things in perspective, because he really like blew the roof off the motherfucker, so to speak. Like, he really put it out there. He really let us know that the government is watching you. And even if you think you're getting away with something, or you think you're having a private conversation, you know how some people whisper, like, oh, I don't want to talk, they're whispering. There's people around, so they're whispering, not knowing that, hey, wait a minute, on the other end of the line right there, you might as well not whisper, because they're listening to you any damn ways. They hear everything you say. That shit is wild. I don't even know. It's crazy. So anyways, I'm trying to see, is there any more information that he mentioned that I thought was just mind-boggling. So, okay. So he had talked about how they take over your device. Oh, you see, I knew I would run out of time. This always happens. And on one of the shows, like I said, I'm going to get him on there. But okay, they take over our emails. All right. So that's one thing I noticed. My emails got taken over. And I told you guys, I had so much stuff in my email, over 20 years worth of information. And I'm kind of dating myself, but lots of information, personal information, telling information that could be used so somebody can use my credit, stuff like that was all in my emails. So imagine that being taken over. Imagine, someone knowing every time you go somewhere. And obviously when you're using GPS, who knows? I call them the internet gods. Google, the internet gods, they know. Like, Google knows everything. Everywhere you go, everything you do, they are all in your business. Anything you type in the search box. So, let's see. It's funny because while I was dealing with being hacked, there were certain things that I looked up that I had to question looking it up, because I was saying to myself, what if, I'm out there saying, oh, I'm getting hacked, I need help. And at the same time, I'm looking up, how to hack this, that, and the other, just so that I could get information on how the hackers are doing what they're doing. And then maybe, here comes the investigators, and they say, well, ma'am, but you looked up this. Like, I saw that shit, like, somehow bouncing back on me, like coming back in a negative way, when really all I was trying to do was gather information. But what I needed to gather information, I had to type in certain phrases and certain words and terms to be able to do the research. And I thought, okay, what if I'm doing this and it really does have a negative effect on what I'm trying to do here? I had to think about that. Imagine having to think about what you're actually putting in before you put it in, so that there's no ramifications for your actions. So they're definitely in our business. You have to be careful. You have to be secure. I will go over some tips next week about some of the things that he mentioned, as far as like while your screen is off, maybe some things that you can do so that there's not that chit chatter happening in the background. I'll go over some tips on when you're typing in the search box, what you need to put in the search box. You just don't want to reveal too much. You kind of want to keep things to a minimum. Now that you're realizing, and now that you know, hey, the government is listening, the government is out there, the government does know, and hackers know. If the government knows, hackers know, okay? Like he said, and then hackers, and the government is like a big old hacker, one big, huge hacker, right? Black hat hacker, right? Not the white hat hacker, the black hat hacker. Anyways, that is all I'm going to mention for today. Thank you guys so much for kicking it with me on CyberSecureyou right here on OneStream.tv. I'm your host, Valerie Mitchell, and I will see you next week. Peace out.